Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Warcry 2.0. This time we are taking a look at the Beastmen, so Beasts of Chaos. Um, as per usual, we'll first look at the new fighters and their stats, then see how they perform points-wise, look at all the new abilities, and last but not least, we'll create a list for these guys. So yeah, Beasts of Chaos got quite lucky with the release of the Chaos book because there's a lot of new stuff in there for them. So as you can see, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 new model choices. 3 of those actually new unit choices and 6 new leaders. So first off, we've got the Cockatrice. Very interesting model, 210 points, so not cheap at all. But movement 10, toughness 4, 30 wounds, and can fly. So that is very interesting. Movement 10 and flying is always very good. And 30 wounds makes him very survivable. He's got a range of 1 in his attacks, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2, 5 damage, which brings him to 6 damage on average per action. That is a good damage profile as well. And yeah, I think he's quite interesting. Then we've got the Centigore. So that's basically the half human, half beastman, half horse guys. Um, Costs 135 points, so relatively cheap. Movement 10, toughness 4, 18 wounds. That is not as good. Movement 10 is nice, but of course this guy does have the mounted keyword, even though his hooves are taped onto his body. Yeah, he's still on a horse, even if it's only a half horse. So yeah, he's mounted. He can't climb. He's got 2 attacks at range 2 with strength 4 and 1/4 damage. At 2 attacks, 1/4 damage is not great. It puts him at 2 damage on average, so that is very low, especially considering his high-ish point cost. So 135 points is more than you kind of want to pay for the low damage output there. Then we've got a Bulgor with shield. So we used to have the Bulgor with double weapons and the one with great weapon. And now we also get a shield option. Costs 190 points, so just like the others. Movement 5, toughness 5, and 30 wounds. So he is 1 toughness more than the other guys, as we're used to see from shields. Range 1, 3 attacks, strength 5, 2, 4 damage. If we take a look at the double weapons Bulgor, right here, we can see he has 4 attacks, so 1 attack more, strength 5 to 4 damage. So yeah, he is also strength 5. So you trade 1 toughness for 1 attack. I'm happy to see that he's not more expensive than the normal Bulgor with double weapons. Maybe Games Workshop is starting to realize that toughness is not more valuable than attacks. Still, his damage output is significantly lower than that of the Bulgor with double weapons, and I still don't think it's going to be worth taking him because toughness 5 isn't that amazing. Then we've got the Gorehoof. He's the Centigore leader. Costs 205 points, so relatively expensive even for a leader. Movement 10, which is nice, but again, mounted keyword. Toughness 4, 26 wounds, which is not that much, but fine for 205 points, I think. Range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2, 4 damage. He deals 4 points of damage, which is okay-ish. I really wish this was the profile for the normal Centigore. I think the Centigore would be usable then. But as it is, I don't see myself using either the Centigore or the Gorehoof. With the limitations Mounted gives you added to the not great attack profile, I think these are not going to be worth bringing. And we've got the Bulgor with shield as a leader option, 240 points. That's in line with the other leader options, even cheaper actually. So the double weapons leader is 245 points, 5 points more expensive than the Bulgor with shield. Also movement 5, toughness 5, and 35 wounds, so 5 wounds more than the normal Bulgur with shield. Range 1, 3 attacks, strength 5, 2, 5 damage. So the only thing that changes about him is that his crit damage is a bit higher. It's not a massive change. I don't think it's worth 50 points at all. Yeah, that's a crazy points jump for a very non-crazy damage jump and survivability. I don't know. Don't feel like he's great. The compare the double weapons and the double weapons leader, you get a 3-point damage jump here, so that's a massive jump up in damage output because he also gets a bonus attack, and that pays. So I think the Bulgur double weapons would still be the better option there. Then we've got the Great Bray Shaman. Um, he's 195 points. Movement 5, toughness 4, 22 wounds. So well, relatively quick, relatively survivable, nothing amazing, but he's a mage you wouldn't expect otherwise. Um, he's got the normal ranged casting attack, so range of 7, 2 attacks, strength 3, 3, 6 damage. Yeah, as with all the mage options, it's going to depend on how good his ability is. But if I remember correctly, it was quite nice, so he might be an option. Then we've got the Beast Lord. He comes in at 200 points. Not that expensive for a leader, not super cheap either. Um, movement 5, toughness 4, 25 wounds. So relatively survivable there. 25 wounds is not nothing to sneeze at. Range 1, 5 attacks, strength 4, 2, 4 damage. Not bad. 5 attacks is pretty good. 6.7 damage on average. I think he's probably going to be worth his points. Again, depending on abilities, of course. Now we've got something very interesting, which is the Doom Ball. Also a new leader type. He comes in at 265 points, so he's the most expensive model on the warband. Movement 5, toughness 4, 38 wounds, so a ton of wounds, 3 more than the Bulgur leaders have. 1 range, 4 attacks, strength 5, 3, 8 damage, bringing him to 11.4 average damage output. That is absolutely insane. This guy will wreck people. And compare him to the Bulgur double weapons leader. I'm comparing everyone to him because that's the leader I would have recommended previously. And you can see for 20 points increase, you get the 3 wounds extra, and you get essentially 2 points in damage on average per action on top of what you had. I think that's pretty good for 20 points. So the Doom Ball seems to be very nice to me, especially like at 11.4 damage on average. He's going to one-shot basically everything in the game. Sorry, basically every chaff to even mid-tier units, so even like 10 wound models who tend to be more resilient to being one-shotted, he can easily take out. Awesome guy. Then we've got the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, so basically the leader option for the Dragon Ogres. 255 points, so only 10 points less than the Dumbo. Let's see if he can hold up. He's got 6-inch move, so 1 inch more than the Dumbo, which is nice. Toughness 4, 40 wounds instead of 38, so even there a bit tougher. But only 3 attacks and 3/6 damage. 7.6 damage is still very good, do not get me wrong there. However, I do still think losing 4 points in damage for one inch move is essentially what you're trading. The Doom Ball is still going to be better. Again, though, there's some abilities that come into play, and we'll have to look at those. So, how do these guys perform then? Well, we've got the Cockatrice coming in at, yeah, as I said, 6 points of damage on average. I kind of feel like, that's fine. 6 points of damage on average. So that's a decent damage per point value, which is at his high point cost feels very good, and he's very survivable as well. Now combining that with the fact that he has a 10-inch move, I think this guy and can fly. This guy is pretty awesome. Then we've got a Centigo. Well, unsurprisingly, his damage output is horrible. I said so. 2 damage is just too low to matter ever, really. Um, so his damage per point value is horrible, and he's not that survivable either. So yeah, as I said, and like so, the only thing he's got going for him is mobility, and then that mobility is very much hampered by the fact that he's mounted. So I don't see the use in the Centigo. I almost feel like Games Workshop prices his mounted units as if mounted was a benefit. So sometimes I feel like every like keyword I call them, but every icon the fighters get like costs a certain amount of points. And in my opinion, the mounted keyword should reduce the number of points a fighter costs, but it doesn't seem to be that way. Games Workshop seems to still act like mounted is a good thing. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think mounted units in general are very good, and the Centigo is definitely a prime example of why they aren't. Then we've got the Bulgo with shield. His damage output is still fine, um, and he's very survivable. As you can see, he's in the top league of survivability there. 7 actions to be taken down, crazy good, and yes, damage output is still not bad. In most warbands, I'd say he's an auto-include because he's a good fighter. He's a very solid fighter. In this warband, however, you've got so many other very good options. Again, compare him to the Bulgo with double weapons. He's got just a bit more going for him with these definitely almost 2 points higher damage. I can give up one attack, like one activation on him, especially with the abilities the Bulgos get as well, and take that extra damage. So he's not bad, but I don't think I would bring him. Then you've got the Gorhoof, the Centigo leader. Well, again, not great damage output, not great survivability, just not great. The Bulgo with shield leader option, his damage output is even lower than that of the normal Bulgo, like as compared to his points, so his value is lower. Yeah, because he's a lot more expensive, as I said, and he doesn't really add much more than the normal Bulgo, so I don't think the leader is gonna be that great. Then we've got the Bray Shaman. Again, no surprises there. His damage output is not great. His survivability is only average. It's going to depend on his utility as a leader. The Beast Lord, though, has average damage, average survivability. He's like a very vanilla lord. You could see him in any of the regular Chaos warbands. He's just exactly in that line where every normal leader option is. He's just not very exciting compared to many of the other very great options you've got. And we've got the Doombo. As I said, great damage output, and look at that. There's very few models in the game that cost 265 points and still get a green damage per point value at 0.04. So he's pretty awesome. And then his activations are also very good. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Yeah, average damage, still not bad, and very survivable. So yeah, that's that. Let's have a look at the abilities then. Well, most of the normal abilities have not changed, with one exception. The Cockatrice has its own ability. It's a triple, and you can choose one enemy in 8 inches, throw a dice, and on a 2+, it deals damage equal to the dice roll, which is not bad but it's a triple, so for a triple it's not good. It's not great damage. However, you do reduce the movement of that enemy by 1 as well. So if you're fighting against some of the slower warbands who are movement 3, movement 4, reducing that movement by 1 can be pretty massive. Um, yeah, if you're fighting Nurgle demons, Nurgle mortals, they're going to struggle with 2-inch move that's basically crawling across the battlefield. So that can be good. It's probably not going to be great in many matchups, and yeah, it's very situational, but I think it's neat, and I think that Cockatrice, even without the triple, is very good, and it's nice that it gets an additional um, thing it can use. Just adds a bit more utility to him. So yeah, just in my book, the Cockatrice is really, really awesome. And a change I didn't really see coming. I was expecting the Centigores kinda, um, so that didn't come as a surprise, but the Cockatrice, he's cool. Then we've got, so that's it for the normal abilities, and then we got the lead abilities. So everyone has the double to get a bonus attack or move action after they kill one enemy. It's fine. It's not. It's not amazing. It's fine. The shaman has devolve, which basically pulls one enemy within 6 inches towards him, um, in a number of inches equal to the value of the ability. That can be really good. I've seen this pull ability be absolutely great. You can pull enemies off objectives, you can pull them off buildings, you can even with the new catacombs, you can pull them into the lava. So the this ability is really, really good. It has a lot of utility if you think about it and set it up correct. You can do a lot with this, and it's only a double, so you're not giving up much to use it. I think this guy is pretty awesome. Sorry, this ability is pretty awesome. Um, yeah, the stats are not awesome, but I think for the ability, the Shaman might be worth it. Then we've got the Beast Lord. He gets his own triple, which is basically adding one attack to all friendly units within 9 inches of him, which is a big aura after killing an enemy unit. So the issue is you'd have to kill someone, but when you do, that's going to be a big, big buff to almost everyone, which I think is pretty cool. So for that, I think the Beast Lord is not bad at all. And then we've got the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, who's got a kind of weird ability, which is to heal all Dragon Ogres. It's on a quad. Um, Healing all Dragon Ogres around him in 9 inches by the value of the ability. So that's not going to be great. If you roll a quad 4s, let's say, quad 3s, healing all your Dragon Ogres, and how many of those are you going to have? Maybe 2 if you go Dragon Ogre heavy. You could bring a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth and 2 normal Dragon Ogres maybe. Um, yeah, healing 2 people 6x6s. That does not seem great because it doesn't affect himself as far as I read it. Yeah, I this does not make me want to bring the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So if you're really into Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, go for it. But otherwise, I don't think it's gonna be good. Anyway, let's have a look at what kind of list I would propose you bringing. So this first one I've made for you is only 8 models, which is the big downside of this list. 8 models is not a ton. It's not bad, but it's not a ton. You really want 9 to 10 models for really dominating those objectives. However, you do have a lot of things to help you still win on the objective game. So you do get 2 Gors with double weapons. They are just cheap and can hold objectives, nothing else really. And then you've got 3 Angor Raiders, so you do have the potential to sit on an objective and still help out pepper enemy units. And like even with the low damage these guys do, you're going to eventually pull something down, or someone who runs away from a fight or just survives it. You're still going to be able to take away those 1-2 damage points that you need. to kill something crucial. So I think the Unger Raiders are very good for 70 points. And they give you bodies as well, of course. Then I would bring a Cockatrice, because movement 10 and flying is invaluable, especially when paired with very serious damage and a lot of wounds. You can straight away turn 1 really get into the thick of things with him. He's not going to die on you turn 1. He's going to deal damage, and he's going to you can collect loot with him and fly away. You can there's so much utility in movement 10 and flight. As I said, paired with his damage, and then you got the available triple as well, should you need it. Again, for just dealing that extra bit of damage to someone in 8 inches. 8 inches is a long distance. So yeah, I think the Cockatrice is very good, and I would bring one. As my leader option, I'd bring the Doombo. He's movement 5, toughness 4, 38 wounds. Crazy, crazy powerhouse. He's just a powerhouse. You don't bring him because he's got great leader abilities or anything. He's a massive powerhouse. He's gonna be very tough to bring down, and he's gonna be eating enemies alive. Doombo all the way. And then we've got the Great Bray Shaman. So obviously with the new rules, you can bring an additional leader. He's not going to be your leader, but he's gonna have access to all the abilities. And as I said, the ability to on a double pull an enemy away from something, out of a zone, out of a table quarter, off a building, into the lava, whatever, is going to provide a ton of utility and a ton of fun as well. And so you can see, even though these guys only are 8 men strong, this list is still going to allow you to dominate objective-based games, because the Doombo, when he's on one objective, the enemies don't even want to get near it, because he's going to eat them. The Great Bray Shaman is going to pull them away from objectives, really help you get the numbers where you need them, pull enemies out of fights so they have to move to re-engage, don't get those double attacks. You've got the Cockatrice with a ton of movement, who can easily grab objectives, treasures, whatever. So you've got a lot of play on the objective game and a lot of options. This warband does not need the beast load necessarily. It's not dependent on that aura buffing. It's not dependent on that team play as much as it is on all those individual great fighters who have great abilities and very good stats. I think honestly, Beasts of Chaos is going to be one of the top warbands now. I'm not gonna lie. I think the new additions have made them very, very powerful. Now, one variation you could bring to this, or several basically. If you want more damage, I would drop the Great Bray Shaman. So you could drop the Great Bray Shaman and go Bolgo double weapons. Bam, easy. Suddenly you've got 3 very punchy models. You could put one in each battle group, whatever, and you'd have a lot more damage output than you have with the Great Bray Shaman. If you want more models, you could just drop the Bulgo again and just get 3 more Gors with double weapons in there, or even like 4 and 4 Unger Raiders, something like that, whatever. You could optimize that probably to 3 and 5. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, whichever you do, that would put you at 10 models, so 10 models is a ton to play with. That's a lot of bodies on the objective game as well. So you've got a lot of options to make good warbands with these guys. I still think the Shaman is going to be a good choice, because that's a lot of utility. It is a lot of utility. He was one of the allies that many people brought before the changes to the game as well. So in Warcry 1.0, basically, people did bring the Great Bray Shaman as an ally oftentimes, and I think you're going to see him used in many, many lists for Beasts of Chaos. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.